about The Last Jedi again. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Hey, camera. Hey. Let's turn there. Thanks. Okay, cool. So today I want to talk about The Last Jedi, and I'm not going to talk about the usual points that everyone usually talks about. I mean, I'm going to talk about Luke Skywalker, but in a different light to the usual. Alright, now, something came to me as I was just thinking about The Last Jedi and how much I don't like it. Something came to me. Now, this movie isn't exactly dark. There's a lot of really stupid humor in it that doesn't land. But the movie has just a depressing tone because everyone's going through something not good, something terrible, but not in like a dark way, just in like a depressed, edgy teen way. It almost feels like that's what everyone's going through. Even Leia. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but hey, okay, what I want to talk about with Luke, alright, is that in a movie like that where everyone's going through something terrible and troublesome, in a Star Wars movie at least, there needs to be that anchor of hope amidst all of this other really dark crap that's going on, okay? Or just downtrodden crap that's going on. Now that should have been Luke. Now sure, maybe in the beginning of the film for like 5 or 10 minutes, he could have been reluctant, but not like the edgy nihilist he was. He could have just been a little bit reluctant, just a little bit, like a smidge. And like, sure, maybe he matures a little bit, but overall, he should have been the optimistic, with a little bit of realism, because he's older now, Luke that he was in the original trilogy. And not just because that's the Luke people want, but because it makes so much sense to make The Last Jedi a better movie in terms of tone. For example, you have Rey going through a hard-ish time in terms of her own identity and things like that, but to be honest, she has it the easiest out of everyone in terms of how they're feeling. Kylo Ren, he's just emotionally confused always. Poe Dameron is getting slapped around, basically. Leia is in like a coma for most of the movie, basically. The entire Resistance is starting to drop like flies. And yes, maybe you could say the end of The Last Jedi, where Luke goes and faces Kylo Ren, is like this anchor of hope. But I really disagree with that because, hell, Luke even said, like, Kylo Ren was like, "Have you come here to save my soul?" And yes, that was sarcastic, but Luke was like, "No." And you're like, Luke, bro. And then he contradicts that later by saying, "I'll always be with you if you strike me down." Like, what? Pick something. But yeah, I don't really see that as him being an anchor point, because that was so near to the end of the movie anyway, and all he did was help them escape. That's all he did. And then he dies because of what? Forced cardiac arrest? Like, literally, he does the power, and then he gets up, and he gets up. Like, he literally falls, gets up, and now, okay, he's sad, forced cardiac arrest. Okay, seems logical. It really just seemed like Ryan just needed a reason to kill Luke because he thought it was the end of his character arc. But anyway, the anchor point is so important to a movie like this. The anchor point of hope is so important to a Star Wars movie, especially a dark Star Wars movie. Or possibly not even dark, just downtrodden Star Wars movie. Now, was there an anchor of hope? I would argue no, there was not. Maybe there were some feeble attempts, but Luke would be the perfect anchor of hope, trying to unite everyone, trying to get back his nephew, Kylo Ren. Now, maybe to no avail, but even just trying. You know, instead of just going to Kylo Ren with his lightsaber, going to Kylo Ren and just being like, no, I'm not here to save you, I'm not here to reconcile, I'm just here to fight. Like, that shouldn't have been the way that played out. He says, "I'm sorry, Ben." Like once he says, "I'm sorry, Ben." But does that really count for anything considering what he did do? He went into this guy's room at night, invaded his mind, and then turned on his lightsaber, and then the guy wakes up with this lightsaber over him. Like, no, he wasn't like this, but he saw the lights, just going, "I'm sorry, Ben."
I failed you, Ben. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are.
Isn't enough. There needs to be more attempt at reconciliation than that, okay? So Luke needed to be the anchor of hope for The Last Jedi, but was he? Nope! Luke was just some depressed hermit milking tits from a quad-titted rubber sea cow thing. That's what he was. And then he goes and projects himself to Kylo when really his X-Wing was underwater, and they could have just had an awesome moment of him just force lifting his X-Wing, echoing episode 5, but this time he's strong enough to actually lift the X-Wing. He lifts it out of the ocean, goes there, flies there, actually fights. Not necessarily stands in front of like 8 AT-MT walkers, alright? He doesn't need to go do that, but, you know, flies in his X-Wing, maybe shoots a couple of them down with proton torpedoes, maybe gets his X-Wing shot down, survives the crash, lands near the door, gets in, and then maybe like has a little choke point by the door, by that big blast door, and helps them escape, but he's actually there as an anchor of hope. And with Rey, he actually trains her as an anchor of hope. He doesn't just try and put on these weird views about everything onto her. And, you know, with Kylo, he actually tries to reconcile things and be a good uncle. And with, like, the only anchor of hope he kind of was to Leia, because, well, brother and sister, and he kisses her on the forehead, I guess. But does that really count? Not, in my opinion. So, that's my biggest issue with The Last Jedi overall. I finally figured it out. Because the tonal mess of this film is something else. Parody-like comedy that just doesn't land.
You and your friends are doomed. We will wipe your filth from the galaxy.
Okay, I'll hold.
Hello?
Hello? Yep, I'm still here.
Can he hear me?
Downtrodden plot, downtrodden characters, but no anchor of hope when you have literally one of the most hopeful characters ever made in fiction. One of the most hopeful characters ever made in fiction is part of your cast. But yet, he's not the anchor of hope in the movie. At all. And that's my problem with The Last Jedi. Overall. Like, fine, Porgs, whatever. Some parody comedy here and there, I guess I could have cringed through it. But the overall tonal mess of the film is you can't get it back, you can't save it because of Luke being just not what he should have been. And I'm not saying, again, that he couldn't have been a little bit reluctant at first or whatever, but he was just a sarcastic, nihilistic piece of shit, basically. There's even a deleted scene where he tricks Rey into embarrassing herself in front of the native people of the island and going and committing a aggressive act just to show her the error of the Jedi ways.
That old legend of Luke Skywalker that you hate so much, I believed in it.
That is not a Luke thing to do. I don't care how much peril he went through, alright? That's not a Luke thing to do. Luke went through so much peril and pain before the events of The Last Jedi and before the events that Ryan wrote him into, that him changing like that just doesn't make any sense. He lost both his parents, not paternal, but, you know, Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru. His dad tried to kill him multiple times, and he was still faithful that he could turn his dad to the light side. And he proved that he could turn his dad to the light side. And even after that, now apparently just because he makes one mistake, he's now this edgy nihilist. So yeah, The Last Jedi. The big problem for me, no anchor of hope in this downtrodden, awkwardly paced, awkwardly comedic, but not actually comedic because it's not funny movie. No anchor of hope. And that's where I'm going to leave that. I've said everything I need to. If you want to, you know, watch more, you can. I have more on the channel. I know Last Jedi Talk is getting a little bit old now, but I just thought of that, and I just had to share it because I thought it was a good point. Yeah. So I hope you liked this video, like you like sucking on a little bit of a penis. If you did, like button, share button, subscribe button, notification bell. You know it all by now because people are, before they even start a video, are like, can we get 1,000 likes on this video, guys? And now into the video, but wait, can you subscribe first, guys? Anyway, it's been the Randy Andy Show, and I'll see you in the next video. And bye. by the way, Ryan Johnson sucks balls. Hey, just a little disclaimer, guys. How about I go out of focus for you? How about that? Just a little disclaimer. My problem with The Last Jedi is not things like bombs dropping in space, because it's fucking Star Wars. Star Wars has always had stupid shit like that. Okay, it's not about like defying the laws of physics or fuel, because Star Wars has dealt with fuel before, say in Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, and Star Wars has never abided by the laws of physics. Watch any space battle, especially Episode 6's space battle and Episode 3's space battle, and you will notice that very quickly. So I don't have any of those neckbeard complaints about this movie, but it doesn't stop it from being probably the worst Star Wars movie ever made in terms of the spirit of Star Wars. Attack of the Clones sucked anus dialogue-wise, but this sucked anus just complete conception-wise. And the fact that it was greenlit actually makes me scared. Anyway,